Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Inventor class for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This isn't really going to be like a comprehensive look at the class. I might do that in a future video, but I did recently receive the Gears deck accessory, which gives you the equipment cards for some of the things that the Inventor can either make or things that are meant to sort of work with the Inventor class. So I want to have at least a basic understanding of what the Inventor is sort of like, some of the cool things that they can do before I get into looking at the actual equipment cards. So the Inventor is found in the Guns and Gears book. Interestingly enough, even though it's called Guns and Gears, the Gears section is actually before the Guns section. So here is the Inventor. Like I said, we're not going to go through every single ability that it has, but we'll just give you some ideas of what it's like. So it uses intelligence for its primary class attribute. So any abilities that require saving throws for, target that creatures are targeted by, you would use intelligence when determining what that would be, and you are trained in it. So starting off at first level, you have the train proficiency, and then you can increase that sort of as you go. A lot of Pathfinder 2nd Edition characters are really built around their feats that they take, which sort of customize their class features. I'm not going to go into all the feats, like I said, in this video, but we might take a look at least a couple of them there. And a lot of the standard abilities that the characters get, there are a few that are sort of the exception, but a lot of the abilities that they get simply increase their proficiency training from one level to another. They also gain 8 hit points plus their constitution modifier at every level, including first. At first, you also get your ancestral hit points as a one-time bonus as well. And they are trained in things like simple weapons and martial weapons, so they get a bit more weapon proficiencies than some other classes might. They are trained in light and medium armor as well. And they are trained in reflex saving throws. They're an expert in fortitude and will saving throws. They are automatically trained in the crafting skill, as well as a number of additional skills equal to 3 plus your intelligence modifier, plus any skills that you're trained in through your background. So let's just take a look at the main things that the Inventor can do. So one of the first things that the Inventor is sort of considered to be doing or to have on them pretty much at all times is, because they're meant to be like a tinkerer, they're always going to have just gadgets sort of just all over them. They might have some things that they use to enhance like their armor, even if it's not like a mechanical enhancement that you would normally apply. They just sort of are meant to kind of have these little gizmos kind of placed all over them. As an action, they can try to put those little gizmos and gadgets that they have on them into Overdrive. The way that you do that is you make a crafting skill check equal to the standard DC or the normal DC for your level. There's a chart on the GM screen, or that in the game mastering section of the core rulebook that gives you the DCs for like standard or hard or easy, as well as what they are for each of your levels. If you succeed, or the main thing, if you critically succeed, you get to add your intelligence modifier to damage, either through your attacks or through, if you create like a construct, for example, then it may be able to, depending on how you created it or what the type of construct that it is, it can apply the damage to that. So you get to add your intelligence modifier. If you get a normal success instead of a critical success, you add half of your intelligence modifier instead. If you get a failure, nothing happens. But if you get a critical failure, the description starts off with the word "whoops," and something explodes. So you take 1d6 fire damage, I believe it is, and you have to wait another minute before you can. Or sorry, it's not 1d6. You take fire damage equal to your level. And then you can't use the overdrive again until you've spent a minute letting everything sort of cool down. There are also several class features that will have additional effects based off whether you're an overdrive or not. The other thing that the Inventor gets to do is create their innovation and customize it. So your innovation can take on 3 different forms. There is armor, a construct or a robot buddy, or possibly a weapon. For armor, you have 2 choices. You can make either a power suit or a subterfuge suit, basically a light or medium armor. and there are modifications that you can make to it that are specific to each one. When you choose your innovation, so armor, construct, or weapon, it's a choice you make at first level. You do eventually get the ability to change that, though that's much later in the progression. But at first level, you also get to choose a modification. So for the armor, for example, you can put a modification on it. For example, if you took the power suit, you can get the muscular exoskeleton, so it can only be applied to the power suit. But if you put it on there, you get a bonus when you're under. You get a +1 bonus to your athletics checks when you are in overdrive, or if you have a master proficiency in crafting and you're in overdrive, it goes up to a +2 bonus. So there's all kinds of little things that you can do like that. There's speed boosters you can put on the armor as well, which gives you a +5 status bonus to your speed, which increases to a +10 bonus if you're under the effects of overdrive. So things sort of along those lines that you can do. Then there is the robot, the construct, which is personally my favorite. We'll take a look at the construct stats towards the end of this the class description. But yeah, you make yourself a little robot buddy, and again, there's things that you can do to it, like give it a projectile launcher so it can fire darts or like just projectile weapons at a range of 30 feet that do 1d4 damage. There are other things that you can get after this that increase its functionality, which is really awesome. You can give it extra mobility to increase its speed, or you could potentially increase its size, or give it like a swim speed at first level, making it sort of amphibious. There's just, like I said, all kinds of cool things you can do. But at first level, you choose your innovation, and you get to make one modification to it. Again, eventually you'll gain a class feature which allows you to spend your downtime to swap out the modifications that you have chosen. And then there's the weapon weapon innovation. If you choose weapon, you actually choose a type of, you choose a base weapon that it's modeled after. So it has to be one that you're proficient in, obviously, but it can be a simple weapon or a martial weapon. So you could choose like a longsword, you could choose a ranged weapon if you wish, but that is your like innovation. So you've crafted it and you've put modifications on it. So some of the modifications that you have, for example, you could have like a blunt shot for a range attack, so it deals bludgeoning damage, as well as potentially non-lethal if you wish it to. There's complex simplicity, which I love that description. It only applies to simple weapons, but you increase the weapon die from whatever it is to the next level up. So a D4 turns to a D6, a D6 turns into a D8, and so on and so forth, up to a maximum of going from a D10 to a D12. It also gains the potential of versatile trait. So if it's already like a slashing weapon, you could also choose for it to become either versatile with like bludgeoning or piercing damage. It's a choice, again, that you're sort of locked into once you choose it. But again, cool stuff that you can sort of do with that. You can also cause your innovations to explode. So it takes 2 actions to do so, and essentially what happens is it's kind of meant to do that, although there are potential things that can cause it to explode and damage it. But typically, the explosion doesn't damage the item itself. Again, there are things that can modify and change that. But when that happens, everything within 5 feet of that innovation, if it's your weapon or your armor, you're the center and it goes 5 feet out. Or if it's your construct, it's 5 feet around the construct. They potentially take 2d6 fire damage, and they have to make a basic reflex save for it. At third level and every level thereafter, increase the explosion's damage by 1d6. And eventually you can also, as you gain different levels of like breakthrough for your innovation, like the modifications, there are 3 different stages, 3 different like levels of modifications that you can make. Each time you gain a new one of those, you can either choose to have the explosion be 5 feet or 10 feet going out from the source. So yeah, really cool stuff there. Then, like I said, with the breakthroughs, you do have the innovations, you get the breakthrough modifications, which you can make. I'm not going to go through them all here, but they're more powerful modifications than what you could choose at first level. You also get the reconfigurability at third level, which allows you to make a crafting check during your downtime. And if you succeed, you actually get to swap the modifications that you've chosen for your innovation. So like, for example, if you were using for your construct, like if you were using the amphibious modification, but you don't really need that anymore, you could switch to give it like the ranged attack instead. So that's sort of an ability that you get. But then you also get the breakthrough ones, which counts as a different level of modification. So whenever you swap out one for another, it has to be of the same type. So basic, if you swap out a basic, you have to choose another basic modification in its place. If you swap out a breakthrough modification, you have to choose another breakthrough modification to replace it. So that's sort of basically how that works. But again, for the construct, because that's my favorite version, I'm going to be honest, that's what I'm going to focus on the most. If you choose the construct, for example, you can actually turn it into a turret. So it basically becomes stationary, but it can fire its projectile attack up to 60 feet instead of 30 feet for its range increments, and it deals a d6 instead of a d4. So again, just I love the idea of having a robot buddy that transforms into a turret. I just think that's awesome. And again, there's different types for the different options. So there's armor modifications that you can take. There's things that you can apply to your construct or your weapon. Okay, at 9th level, they gained the offensive boost ability. So what that means is you actually get to add an additional type of energy to your attacks. So it's offensive specifically. So if it's a weapon, you can choose to have it deal, in addition to its normal type, it can deal cold damage, or it could deal like fire, acid. It could change from like a bludgeoning attack to you can have it be like a spike, so it does piercing. So that's, again, I really like that ability. It also adds an extra d6 to that damage. So in addition to the normal energy or damage that it does, you could do like the extra d6. So if it's a weapon or your construct, it's just the regular attacks. If you have the armor as your innovation, the extra damage applies when you use an unarmed strike. So if you basically do like a punch or a kick, and you've chosen like to deal extra cold damage, you would deal an extra d6 of cold damage with your unarmed strike. Again, really, really cool. I love that concept. And then we've got different versions of Overdrive as well. So like I said, with Overdrive, if you succeed, you deal half your intelligence modifier as extra damage to your attacks, or if you get a critical success, it's your full intelligence modifier. As you progress, there are class features that you gain that will add +1, +2, and then +3 to that. So for example, at the highest level, it would be half your intelligence modifier +3 on a normal success, or half your intelligence modifier +3, or sorry, your full intelligence modifier +3 on a critical success. So just successive steps of that, +1, +2, and +3. And then you get your revolutionary breakthroughs. Again, I'm not going to go through them all in this video, but we will take a look at a couple things here. So for example, you could put a resistant coating on your construct buddy to give it resistance 5 to all damage except adamantine. I love that one. Or you could give it a flight chassis so that it can actually gain a fly speed of 25 feet. And there's all kinds of different things. So you can also have it transform into a wall, because why wouldn't you? If you really want to make a transformer, you kind of can with that. And I absolutely love it. And again, there's different types for the weapons or armor or innovations that you have. At 19th level, you get the infinite invention ability. So that allows you to retrain and actually change your innovation from whatever it was to one of the other options. So if you started with armor, for example, you can retrain and change it using downtime and a crafting check. You could change it, and basically instead of having the armor, you can make a robot buddy, because you should want to make a robot buddy, because that's the best version, that's the best option, at least in my opinion. You know, if a game lets you have a robot, you take the robot. So you can actually do that at 19th level. If you took class feats that require your innovation as a prerequisite, You cannot use them, obviously, because you're no longer using that innovation. If you swap back to the innovation, then you're fine. Or you could retrain those feats in a day instead of a week, which you normally would have to, using the retrain option. So again, just really cool stuff there. And like, I'm not going to go through all the feats that they get because there's a lot to go through. I did a version of this video that was like 40 minutes, and I don't want to do that for this. If you want me to go way more in depth for the class, let me know, and I can certainly do that in another video. Or I could take a look at one of the specific innovations and go over all the abilities that innovation might get, be it armor, construct, or weapon. So if you want to see stuff like that, please let me know. But I just want to give you sort of an idea. The main thing that the class really has is its innovation and ways to modify it. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on. But we will take a look at least a couple of the feats, because there are some that just sound really, really cool. Like if you took the construct, if you have like a construct companion, and there is a feat that actually just lets you have a construct companion, though it's not your innovation if you didn't choose the construct innovation. So if you take that feat, you just gain a regular standard robot companion that does not get modified by your breakthroughs, for example, or your modifications. But you can still have one if you want. And you also get there's also a feat that's called No, I created you. So if something takes control of your construct, you can actually redo the saving throw using, you take the same result of the saving throw, like the die result, but instead of the construct's saving throw bonus, you use your crafting skill bonus in its place. So you might be able to have that actually turn the failure into a success, for example. There's also things like you can have like a collapsible construct or armor, which basically just allows it to sort of just shrink down and to be carried. Like the construct, you can have it so that it can be like carried something sort of like to the size of like a briefcase kind of concept. So if you could do like that whole, heist thing where you have the briefcase and inside of it is, it's not actually a briefcase, it's your robot friend. So you can kind of do stuff like that. If you wish to do. There are also feats that allow you to do things like advance the type of construct, so it can go from basic to advanced, all the way up to, I think Paragon is the highest type. But there's different things, and those will modify the construct's attributes as well as some of the things that it can do. Again, I'm obsessed with the construct companion. That's why I'm kind of zeroing in on that. But there's also things that can modify your weapon or your armor as well. So there's all kinds of different things. I just don't want to go through them all in this particular video because I don't want it to be too long. But again, I'm just flipping through it. If you want to pause and read through some of them, you certainly can, because there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with this. And I just love some of the names. Like, you fail to account for this, and it's a reflex. The trigger is a creature you can see targets you with an attack against your armor class. There's a lot to it. But yeah, you know what? Let's just read through it, I guess. When your foes try to attack you, you always have some outlandish innovation you could pull out the last second to protect you from whatever attack they throw at you. Describe a device you're attempting to use to protect yourself from a foe's attack. For example, when attacked by a shocker lizard shock strike, you might pull out a specifically grounded lightning rod from that time you tried to power an innovation by harnessing a thunderstorm. So I kind of like that because you get to be creative. So when you do that, when you defend with this way, the attack roll from the triggering attack targets your crafting DC instead of your armor class. So yeah, I love that. That's just, again, anything that allows you to be like ridiculous. I just love. I think that's so cool. And then we've got the construct here, the different types. So the way that this works is you have like the base stats, and then it can be modified. So for example, with the construct companion, if it's one size category larger than you, you can technically ride it. They have the construct trait, so it's not a living creature, nor is it undead. For proficiencies, your construct companion is trained in its unarmed attacks, armor defense, and all saving throws, perception, acrobatics, and athletics. Construct companions can't use athletics that require greater intelligence, they can't use abilities that require greater intelligence, such as coerce or decipher writing, even if trained in the appropriate skill, unless they have an ability that allows it. So they're robots, right? They're not artificial intelligences. Their size is either small or medium, chosen by you when you first gain the companion, or again, if you have it as your innovation, at first level you can choose to make it a large size. For its strikes, it has two different types it can do. It has a melee strike that basically works like a fist or a kick or just some sort of like bludgeoning type of damage, which deals 1d8. And then it has a second attack that it can deal that is like a piercing or slashing, your choice. And it's more similar to like a bite type of attack, as sort of just a concept for it. Its ability modifiers, because in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, NPCs, monsters, and companions, they don't have attributes and modifiers. They just have modifiers, which is strength is +3, dex is +3, con is +2, intelligence is -4, and wisdom is +1, with charisma being at a 0. For hit points, they start with 10 hit points plus a number of hit points equal to 6, plus its constitution modifier for each level that you have. So its hit points are tied to yours. If you are 3rd level, then it would have 18 plus 3 times its con modifier for hit points at that level. In addition to the hit points, the construct is not completely destroyed when it reaches 0 hit points like normally they would be. So instead, your companion is considered to be broken and begins sparking and might be destroyed if you don't repair it. It works the same way as the normal dying rules and determines if your construct is destroyed with the following 2 changes. So first, abilities that end the dying condition don't work to save a construct companion, but it can be stabilized using the administer first aid action. But instead of using like medicine, you would use the crafting skill in its place. Second, instead of gaining and tracking the wounded condition, if your construct becomes broken in this way more than twice within a 10-minute period, it is destroyed and you will need to reconstruct it by spending a day of your downtime. As a construct, it is immune to things such as bleeding damage, death effects, disease, the doomed condition, being drained, fatigued. It is immune to healing, necromancy, non-lethal attacks, being paralyzed, poisoned, sickened, or from becoming unconscious. It is not a living creature, and it cannot recover hit points the way that a living creature does. Recovering hit points for it requires using the repair action or other means to restore hit points to objects instead of living creatures. And as far as senses go, it has precise vision, imprecise hearing, and a vague sense of touch, but no sense of smell or taste. And its base speed is 25 feet. Now again, there are feats you can choose to modify these things, such as the advanced construct companions. So if you take that feat, for example, you increase the size, or you increase, the strength, dexterity, constitution, and wisdom modifiers by 1. That adds to what we have here before. So instead of it being a 3 strength plus 3, it'd be +4. Instead of being +1 wisdom, it would now be +2. You increase the unarmed attack damage from 1 die to 2. So for its unarmed strike, like the fist or the bludgeoning one, it's 2d8 instead of 1d8. And for the piercing or slashing attack, it is 2d6 instead of 1d6. Increased proficiency rank for perception and all saving throws to expert, and increases proficiency ranks in intimidation, stealth, and survival to trained. If the construct is your innovation and is already trained in those skills from modification, increases proficiency rank in those skills to expert. You can also change its size if you wish from either small, medium, or large. And then the incredible construct, you increase its strength, dex, con, and wisdom modifiers by 2. That adds on to what we had before. So instead of it being strength +3, it would now be strength 4 and then up to 6 with this one. So like I said, it all stacks onto each other. It also deals an additional 2 damage with its unarmed attacks, and its attacks become magical for the purposes of dealing damage to creatures that might be resistant to non-magical attacks. And you increase its proficiency ranks in athletics and acrobatics to expert. And then the Paragon construct, again, you increase strength, dex, con, and wisdom by an additional 1, so up to 7 instead of 6, what we had before. Increase the proficiency rank for unarmed attacks from trained to expert, as well as their unarmed defense of their armor class, and their attacks now have the expert level of training instead of just the basic level of training. And you increase its proficiency ranks for athletics and acrobatics, all of its saving throws, and perception to master. And you can increase its unarmed damage from 2 die to 3, so 3d8 or 3d6. And instead of doing the additional +2, it's now an additional +4. So, for example, if it's using its strength, it would be quite a bit of damage actually, because it would be like 3d8. +7, so +11 damage now, which is, you can get up there, which is really, really cool. So yeah, so those are the different types of companions. Like I said, there is more to the Inventor class. I kind of chose to zero in on the construct because that's my favorite version of the class. Like I said, if you have the ability to get a robot companion, you should take the robot companion. Chrono Trigger had Robo, Night Seal Republic had, HK-47. You want your robot buddy because they're awesome. So that is essentially the Inventor class. If there's more information that you want me to go into, like if you want to go over the specifics of each of the 3 types of innovation, armor, construct, or weapon, I can certainly do that in a separate video. Like I said, most of the other features that the class gets by default tend to revolve around increasing its proficiency from one level to another. And then with feats, they are very customizable, but there are quite a few of them, so I don't necessarily want to go into all of them. Like I said, if you want to pause the video and read the descriptions for them, then you can certainly do that. But yeah, overall, I really like this class. It's probably one of my favorite new classes that Paizo has added to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I really liked the Magus class as well from Secrets of Magic, and I would put the Inventor up there with that as sort of tied for my favorite classes or new classes to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's just really, really cool stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that video, that sort of breakdown of some of the features that the Inventor has, at least to give you an idea of what they're capable of. Tomorrow I will be uploading a video unboxing and looking at each of the cards in the Gears deck, which is associated with the Inventor class. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Take care.